But this is not the mechanism of change that we need, actually. For us, for a society which is engaged in a struggle, an anti-colonial struggle, a struggle for freedom, a struggle for liberation, being able to unify social forces is very important. And these professionalized activities actually break that up. They've broken up the grassroots model of organizing that we had in the first Intifada.
كان ربط الحزام في الطائرة عند هبوط الطائرة فقط.
Volunteers have virtually disappeared in Palestine due to large-scale funding of such activities. People who once volunteered in the new NGO world now expect to be paid. While donor aid has diluted the spirit of volunteerism, it has also changed the dynamics of the Palestinian business sector.
The challenges of operating a business are faced by many Palestinian businesses in the private sector. One of those challenges is recruiting Palestinians. It is a product of what's starting to be called the NGOization of developing economies. It's a result of a large amount of foreign aid that is injected to the Palestinian economy that allows non-governmental organizations or NGOs the ability to offer inflated salaries that are far detached from the local economy to recruit educated and professional Palestinians. So NGOs are therefore able to offer a salary that is 3 to 4 times higher than what the local private sector can afford. That increases the cost of labor and reduces the labor supply to the private sector and directly undermines the private sector's ability to recruit Palestinians, hire them, and therefore build a autonomous or an independent Palestinian economy.
If donor aid is encouraging inflated salaries for the educated classes, then why are these educated classes incapable of building an independent economy?
The very fundamentals of economic development and growth and free movement of goods and people was completely stopped by the government of Israel, by the successive governments of Israel. The donor community did not challenge this, but they continued pouring money over it. So they knew that they are investing in a failed project.
The Oslo project had many beneficiaries who worked to keep the project alive.
لأنه إحنا إذا بدنا نقول شو عملوا المانحين، عملوا طبقة أو نخب سياسية اقتصادية متشابهة أو متجوزة بعض وقاعدين، هدول النخب هم اللي برسموا قاعدين سياسة البلد.
The NGO process really works hand in hand with the process of promoting an image of prosperity in cities like Ramallah, and and a focus on also fostering a middle-class lifestyle, lifestyle which is focusing on consumption. All of this works to create a symbol of normality, that we're living in normal conditions, that actually everything is fine in the West Bank and Gaza, that the state is in the process, that there's a state on the way that will be independent very soon, and all of this masks the structures of oppression that we live under daily, and that the structures of control that Israel has put in place.
I think donor funding contributed because donors and the countries behind them did not challenge the policy of the State of Israel by economically blockading the West Bank and the Gaza Strip and East Jerusalem. So they knew that they are investing in a failed project which cannot be feasible without the free movement of goods and people.
At least 30% of Palestinians have been designated as poor with nearly half of these falling into the category of being very poor. How can so many Palestinians remain poor with so much aid being donated?
واحنا ما ننساش انه في جزء كبير كمان مقدر يمكن بين 30 ل 50% من الدعم اللي بيجي من مصادر الدعم الخارجية بيرجع لنفس المصادر، بيرجع للبلاد نفسها من خلال المستشارين في بعض المشاريع. هاي النسبة اللي بترجع لمصدر الدعم تزيد عن 50% من المبلغ المقر اللي بنحط على الكتب. يعني بتسجل انه هذا دعم للشعب الفلسطيني تحت الاحتلال.
Nevertheless, the culture of aid dependency in Palestine is enormous.
Right now, 30% of the Palestinian GDP comes from foreign aid. If Palestinians were to become disobedient, as defined by those foreign donor states, that donor money would cease to exist. It allows the donor states to essentially blackmail the Palestinian people. And I know blackmail is a strong word, but we saw the negative effects of donor aid in 2006 and its political implications. When Palestinians elected their own government in 2006, the donor aid money was turned off because they defined the results of the Palestinian election as hostile to Western interests. So therefore they ended donor aid to the Palestinian Authority. So they're like what they call the golden handcuffs. You know, the donor aid is given to you, but it has conditions that require you to react in a different way. Thus, if the foreign donor state that's giving the money has interests to keep the Israeli occupation in place, or to allow Israel to continue to build settlements, build its wall, and further entrench its occupations, that works contrary to the interests of the Palestinian people.
Critics of the economic policies of the Palestinian Authority say that the consumer society being created will have devastating long-term effects on the Palestinian people.
مدينة زي رام الله حجم الديون اللي على الناس بس من وقت سلام فياض، الحجم الديون للقروض للبنوك وهيك ارتفع ل 3 مليار دولار. يعني التوجه العام لبنك الدولي هين انه قديش احنا قادرين نخلق مصالح فردية ومنفعة فردية لكل واحد. بمعنى في عندك قضية جماعية للفلسطينيين، كيف تفتت هاي القضية الجماعية وتصير كل واحد مشكلته انه انا مديون للبنك. وهذا اللي بصير فعليا.
Palestinian society, observers note, is changing.
I think the development could very well be illustrated in the Gaza Strip by people losing their capacities, their experience and expertise, and their potential. The degenerative effect of the prevailing politics is actually stripping Palestinians of whatever capability and potential they once had many, many years ago.
But being debt-ridden and facing the prospects of de-development are not the only internal problems that the Palestinians face. Approximately 1/3 of the Palestinian public budget is spent on security. Most Palestinians do not see the benefit of having anything other than traffic controllers and regular policemen. So why, they ask, do the donors encourage the Palestinian government to spend 30% of their budget on security?
أنا بفهم الشرطة ضرورية حتى تساهم في النظام العام، هذا أنا بفهمه. ولا أفهم إنه ليش هاي المصاري لازم تنصرف على حرس رئاسي مدجج في السلاح ومدرب على عمليات خاصة. لا أفهم هذا، لأنه هذا ما إلوش علاقة مع أمن فرد، هذا إله علاقة مع أمن النخب السياسية اللي خلقتها أوسلو. هذا بالأساس.
Palestinians remain realistic about the nature of European involvement in the Israel-Palestine conflict.
الحالة الفلسطينية دور المانحين بالأساس هو دور سياسي. أنا بقصد بالدور السياسي قديش أنت قادر تبقى مساند سياسيا لقضية هالقد عادلة وبيختلفوش عليها الناس يعني أخلاقيا في أي قانون وفي كل مواثيق الأمم المتحدة اللي هي بتنص على قرارات محددة بالموضوع الفلسطيني. بالوقت اللي بتعطينا ألمانيا قيصة حين هي بتمنح إسرائيل غواصات نووية بنفس الوقت، فبالتالي فيش هاي الدعم الحقيقي. وبتقف ميراكل وبتقول إنه لا الفلسطينية إذا بدهم دولة لازم توافق إسرائيل، يعني كمان حطتينا تحت مظلة إسرائيل كمان مرة. أنا برأيي إنه المانحين فقدوا دورهم الأخلاقي والقيمي في التدخل في القضية الفلسطينية، لعبوا الدور السياسي اللي ممكن يلعبوه لصالح إسرائيل، كيف هم يكونوا عامل إضافي بالضغط على الفلسطينيين مش مساعد للقضية الفلسطينية.
The freedom of movement, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion, freedom of association, those inalienable human rights are impossible to achieve if there is an occupation that exists that prevents them, a military occupation that is sustained or that is allowed to exist based on the fact that a donor economy sustains the Palestinian people. You know, when they talk about economic peace, I consider it almost as the opium to the Palestinian people, because it keeps them sort of drugged while Israel continues to further entrench its occupation. And that's the essential problem with a massive amount of donor aid into the Palestinian territories, because one can argue easily that it helps sustain the Palestinians while Israel further entrenches its occupation. And that has enormous implications, because, I mean, as much as people talk about the possible outcomes of the conflict, they talk about the two-state solution or the one-state solution, but the most realistic outcome is permanent occupation.